You are listening to DC On Screen.
Hi, welcome to DC On Screen. I'm David C. Robertson, and happy 2026, folks. I know that's easier said than done, but I don't know. I try to be hopeful. So this episode was recorded right before Christmas, and it took a little longer than expected to get it out into the world, but it's one we really wanted you to hear. Jason tracked down a guy named Chuck from Kentucky who attended one of the Batgirl test screenings. He believes the first one. And we wound up talking to him for, 4 hours, roughly. What you're hearing here is the Batgirl-focused cut of that conversation. If you want the full, unfiltered 4-hour discussion, which goes way beyond Batgirl into Hollywood history, just crazy orgy shit, a bunch of stuff, some truly wild stories. That'll be up on our Patreon for the $5 and up patrons. All right, let's get into it.
I'll start. Okay, my name is Chuck Pennington. I go by Chuck from Kentucky on a lot of social media, or Chuck's mom from Kentucky. I have posts about that. And I attended, I believe, the first test screening of Batgirl a little over 3 years ago. And I posted about it when it was apparent that it wasn't coming out. And Jason and David was like, well, tell me about it. So here I am.
That's
to tell us what is remembered of a thing from 3.5 years ago. So,
you are participating in a grand tradition of oral storytelling. You're like Homer,
Great.
telling the Odyssey here.
Oral storytelling and false memories. That's what we're here to preserve.
Well, I'll tell you how I found out about this. I started going to test screenings of movies during COVID. And I was living outside of Phoenix, Arizona at the time. This is in 2020. And there were some targeted ads either on Facebook or Instagram, like, hey, would you like to see a movie before it's been released, blah, blah, blah. And so I signed up and I got to see The Tomorrow War. Is that what it's called? The one with Chris Pratt that came out in 2021.
Tomorrow War. Yeah. That was a quickie little thing that had traction for like 2 weeks.
That's so outside of my sphere. I was like, what?
It had a lot of faces, like Felicia Day was in that. It was
for real?
Yeah, it was a big thing for like 2 weeks. It's how a lot of streaming movies do.
It was on Prime. Was that right?
I think it was
Prime. Yeah.
Paramount Plus or something. Well, no, it wasn't that. They sold it to Amazon. Paramount was going to release it theatrically, and then they ended up just selling the whole package to Amazon. Maybe it was on Prime. It premiered on Prime, probably.
It came out as a huge streaming takeover thing for a second.
Yeah, when we saw it, it was the effects weren't done, and there was a lot that was still animatics. And so I saw that, and then the Tom Hanks News of the World, I think is what it's called.
Okay.
And then I was just on this mailing list, and even when I relocated to Encino, I would still get these invites every now and then. What was different about this one is that, and I forward the email to you, is they didn't tell us the name of the movie, much of anything. And what's odd about that is there have been others that they've said, this is Spinal Tap 2 and the latest Paul Thomas Anderson, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? They want you to come,
So, what you sent us is, it's like the instructor. These come from Screening Squad, make the cut. It was Wednesday, June 29th. So it's been 3.5 years, right at 3.5 years since you've seen this. Bless your heart for remembering what you do. And this says no alcoholic beverages, so I presume you had to pregame as best you could. This was not, it's got a bunch of COVID measures on it, of course.
So you just didn't know going in what it was.
No, and the thing is that I think was it at Burbank or Sherman Oaks? I think it was
Galleria, Regal Sherman Oaks Galleria.
Okay,
yeah,
that's right here. Okay, that's the closest theater to me as well. And I've been to so many test screenings there. But anyway, it's a cool place, and it's where before it was remodeled and before they did there was some kind of earthquake in the 90s. They'd remodel it. the Sherman Oaks Galleria is where they shot Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Oh, cool.
I can't remember the others right now, but there are so many teen movies set in malls that were shot. I think some of Terminator maybe was even shot there. But now, since it's being remodeled and it's open concept, you wouldn't recognize it as the same place. But yeah, it's just down the street from me. And when you go to these screenings, you have to get there early because they always invite more people than they can let in. So I typically bring a book and wait. And this one, I think it started at 7. It says, make sure you're here by 6. Well, that's stupid because if you just get there at 6, you're not going to get in. Mm-hmm. So typically you'll get there 2 hours early and then you're just kind of waiting in a line to wait and see. And sometimes to meet their demographic, they'll go through and the 22-year-old, 23-year-old that just walked in, they get picked to go in. And the older people were like, hey, what about us? It's like, well, because they want a certain demographic. They're going through the line. Yeah. So the earlier there, the better. So even if you're like an older person, you have a better shot.
Real specific. It tells you ages 13 to 44 only on this invite.
Ooh, I barely got into that.
You were just at the top by then.
Yeah. 42 at then.
Yeah, you were doing fine.
But you know what? My friend
bring
Augie,
the cap with the little helicopter propeller. I'm like, gee whiz, mister.
Yeah.
I'm just looking for a movie.
They had a couple walkers around, you know?
Well, my friend that I went with was older than that. So they must not have checked his ID. He looked so much younger. I mean, he was 48 and I was 42. But people would think like he was the hired help or something like
both 44 in spirit. He's fine.
Yeah. So anyway, they have a very specific idea of what they want. And the earlier there, the better. And sometimes they reward you. Usually it's if it's for a movie that nobody wants to go to.
Nice.
They'll send out, you'll get $20, you'll get a $30, you know, and then they'll get people there and there's more people to pick from. This one, there seemed to be a good number of people, but nobody knew what it was. Mm. And I was wondering if it might be, to be honest, I can't remember at the time if the new Indiana Jones had come out yet. I don't think it had.
Dial of Destiny?
It may not have even been shot yet. You know, that's how out of it I was with I was on drugs. I wasn't paying attention to what the newest films were, you know?
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, Dial of Destiny came out in 2023.
Oh, well, then they were shooting at that time. There's no way.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been ready for this.
No. Or Mission Impossible. There were some rumors that maybe it was another Mission Impossible or something. And I'm like, oh, I hope it's not. We just knew action, adventure, whatever that description was all we knew when we
action thriller, I think was what you sent. Now, question that on these invites, what's the range of quality of movies you're getting invited to? Now, are these just movies they want to screen and see what they need to punch up on, or some of these like really good movies?
That's interesting.
I would imagine it would be all across the board.
It's all across the board, and I've been doing them for about 5.5 years now. I don't go as often as I used to. Well, and what I'm going to tell you the story. So we're in line. They usher us in. Eventually, we're waiting. And it was a friend of mine I'd seen from other screenings was there, and we said hi to each other. And she said before we went in that she'd heard it was a Warner Brothers film. I'm like, well, okay. You know, she said, so that means it's not Mission Impossible. I'm like, well, that's good. And then everybody was seated and they said, okay, the disclosures and all that. And they said, now you're the first audience to see Batgirl. And everybody cheered, but I was like, what? Sorry? Because
who, what? Oh, what now?
I mean, I don't know of a Batgirl. I've heard of like Catwoman and Batman, but I didn't know Batgirl was not on the horizon for me. I'm like, okay. And they had us recorded, and afterwards we had, I don't remember if the survey, you can always tell the budget of these by how they do the survey. If it is on an iPhone that is under the seat or whatever, that you open it and whatever, or an iPad, or if it's an off-brand cell phone or whatnot, or if it's paper and pencil.
Nice.
Which I've not seen Scantron, but I have seen paper and pencil. And so you kind of know the budget. And I remember it being digital. And sometimes they even have us use our own phones. Usually they have them check them, but there are a few films I've gone to, like, I think they were intended for streaming, like Netflix films, where they're not so worried about you recording it or anything, because they just, not that I don't think anybody really does mostly, but it's so difficult. It would be so difficult to, but they want you to bring your own phone so that they're not even gonna, text you a link to do it. You know what I mean? That tells you the budget of some of these,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And so yeah, the film played, the sound mix sounded great. I mean, that's what's so funny about these is they warn you beforehand. If you see something that looks odd or something that doesn't quite fit or the sound is off or the color or the sound, something's off, just know it's going to be fixed. It's going to be perfect. This is a work in progress. Some films, there have been storyboards, and animatics and whatnot, and green screen with nothing. Like 6 or 7 months after this, I think it was December of that same year. I went to another screening like this, and it was for Blue Beetle.
Oh,
And so little of it was done that I'm shocked they showed it to people. Because with Susan Sarandon standing there acting all crazy in front of just a green wall, and there's a background of just a frozen image, it revealed so much of the process. It made it look silly. Do you know what I mean?
Oh God,
Yeah.
yes. That movie would have been 70% CGI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jason generally doesn't want to watch like set pictures and set leaks, of people filming because it just looks so bad. And like people on the internet will be like, "This looks like shit," and we're like,
"Because you're not."
It does.
Exactly, and that's a whole other discussion I have about. But no, Blue Beetle, yes, because we saw it in December. It didn't come out until August. They had so much work to do, and I'm sure they must have cut it down because that movie had so many endings. Oh God! And then there would be like 3 one-liners by George Lopez, and everybody would be like, and he's like, and we're like, please go on to the next scene. Oh my God, there's too much of this.
Yeah. I felt that way even in the final cut. I liked the movie. There was too much George Lopez.
He was apparently killing.
Had too many endings.
They were all very happy with him. Now I was curious about the other endings, though. If you remembered those, because that does sound fun.
Oh, I don't mean that. I mean like when you think the film is done, and then it goes on, and there's another ending, and then you think it's done, and then let's bring on the grandma with the guns, but that's not the ending. But it's like, fuck me. I mean, are we gonna go home?
Yeah. That part.
Anyway, so Batgirl.
I do feel like that was true of the movie, though.
It had to be cut down, though, because it was like 3 hours when we saw it. Or maybe that's an exaggeration.
Definitely.
I think it was 2.5 with no credits. I'm talking about Blue Beetle. Batgirl was no more
struggling.
It could not have been more than 2 hours.
You said it was less than 2 with no credits on it and all that, but
it didn't have ending credits. It did have some words on the screen, I believe, like some names.
Yeah.
I thought you meant like words like "I'm sorry."
Oh no. But like the actors' names, I thought, because I could swear that I don't remember if I put it in my notes or not. I don't remember if it's. I really watched this be wrong. I just remember it was either when Brendan Fraser's name popped up on screen or when he showed up. I have a feeling maybe we didn't have the words on the screen, that he just showed up. In fact, I really think that's probably it, because it was such a surprise to see him. We're like, okay, is that Brendan? You know what? I'm going to go with that as being, I don't think there were any titles. Sometimes it'll have like some sample ones in a bad font. I don't think there were any, because I didn't know J.K. Simmons was in it until he popped up. I'm sure they didn't have, I almost said Michael McKean, but that's not what I mean.
Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
Yeah. This would be a good movie because of all that would be different. I'm sure because of all the drop-ins, they left this one quiet. That's I would want to surprise the test audience too, if I possibly could.
Well, but what I mean by that is, even when the film, if it was going to be finished, they wouldn't have put his name early on anyway.
Yeah, you're gonna let that drop in.
But I just know that when he appeared on screen, the audience, it was like, ooh, there was a rumble. Oh, it's Brendan Fraser, because we hadn't seen him in a while, and that film, The Whale, hadn't come out yet.
There was talk of The Whale, though, right? Like we'd all heard, man, he gave this fucking performance over here.
You know what? Honestly, it wasn't. I didn't know about it at that point. This was in after? June. It wasn't until like October that was released and started building up momentum and stuff. And I'm like, oh, and they'd already announced the film wasn't going to be finished. I think they canceled it too soon, because if they just waited a few months.
Yeah. Well, all right. So here's another part of you won't have seen Doom Patrol, which I gotta deeply advise anyone to watch that at any point. But
absolutely,
he was kind of in the middle of what was called the Renaissance at that time, right? So Doom Patrol though was part of that come along. He played Robot Man and was doing an incredible job at it. But what was the other role he had come around at that time that really like just grabbed him onto the public scene again? It was Doom Patrol and then something else.
It was a Kiss of the no. It was a the moon. Flowers of the
Flowers of the Killer Moon.
Killers of the Flower Moon.
Killers of the Flower Moon. Yeah.
Killers of the.
Is that right?
Okay.
Or was that after?
Yeah, I guess so.
Some moonflowers got killed. I don't know.
A lot
either.
of words. Those were a lot of words, y'all.
Yeah.
Killer of the Spider.
If you combine all those words somewhere, it's right. It just
Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yeah, that feels right.
But that came out in 2023.
There was something in like 2021 that Brendan. What is this goddamn IMDb?
Crap. Then I
It's
don't
okay.
remember what it was.
There are ways to fix this.
Was it
I mean,
like
he
a
was
small part in like a Woody Allen film or something?
That feels late.
Well,
But-
he still makes them. I mean,
Yeah, he still makes them.
Yeah, he does too. No, but there was something he'd done though. But it had been labeled the Renaissance. I think by the time that Batgirl was in, because they were trying to play off of, hey man, this guy's really rolling right now. Let's get him in there.
He was in No Sudden Move, a 2021 movie written by Ed Solomon and directed by Steven Soderbergh.
oh, well, it's Steven Soderbergh, but I don't know that film at all.
Yeah,
That had Don Cheadle in it, Benicio del Toro, David Harbour, John Hamm. Stacked fucking cast. I don't think I've ever heard of this.
No, see, that's the problem. That's a whole other discussion we can have about media at some point.
Best I can tell, it was No Sudden Move, and then The Well came out. All right, so look, I may have that a little bit wrong. So Doom Patrol might have been the heart of the Renaissance, and then in our world,
I think it was
of DC. I think we might have been actually where this started for once instead of
When
the other
did
way around.
Doom? See, I don't know these. That's what's so terrible about this is I'm not, as far as Marvel and DC goes,
Mhm.
I saw Iron Man when it came out and I enjoyed it,
Mhm.
and that's it.
I mean,
Doom Patrol started in 2019.
2019, yeah, is when we started that one.
Well, then that would be okay.
In it,
No, it is. I highly recommend it. It's a fantastic fucking show. It is surreal and fucking weird and very R-rated.
yeah,
And
deeply.
it is in the DC universe, but they don't they might mention the Justice League from time to time, but that's about it.
They're tangentially in is at best.
It's very weird.
And
It's a
it
very
had a weird platforming too. Do you remember DC Universe being around for a minute there? So Doom Patrol, I believe, was originally made for the DC Universe shows. It was part of so Titans and Doom Patrol were among the first, I think, that were coming out then. But DC Universe was going to be DC's own streaming app, and it lasted for a little while, about a year. And then of course HBO Max comes along and sucks everything up with it. But for a minute there, they had their own shows, and they really were doing pretty fucking good with them. Like there was a couple of crazy layouts going about because you could tell where they were spending their money and where they weren't. But there were some genuinely good things in there. Doom Patrol being one of them. But because it was in such a niche thing and used to help sell their product, it never got, I think, the start it should have. It never got the grassroots movement it should have.
Mm-hmm.
Did okay, I think, in COVID when people went back and found some stuff to stream, especially because it was still airing at the time, and you were going to be part of the final season if you got to it. It's come and gone now. But yeah, we got Brendan Fraser out of it, and then after all that, that's how he gets caught up in Batgirl. Was God, another DC product? He's already fucking on
But
fire.
it's a
anyway.
totally different
universe, different character.
He wasn't
Yeah,
Right.
Okay.
yeah. He would have been 100% in a different universe, which would have been weird because it wouldn't have technically 100% been in a different universe because of a lot of what I'll have to call
J.K.
comic book
Simmons.
math. Yeah.
Didn't you say J.K. Simmons? And then Michael Keaton.
And they're all theoretically in what, in theory, starts on the CW as the actual prime universe of the whole DC building experience.
With like that show, Smallville?
Not even that. It would be the Arrowverse
Kinda,
stuff.
yeah. Well, yes, but then Smallville was included. Like, look, everything they did a Crisis on Infinite Earths special. It was like 6 episodes.
Yeah.
That did all the shows, and they also went to all these different universes. This is stuff that they started in the comics in the 80s.
Right.
But it was a way to like reconcile in the comics originally all these different universes and shrink it down to one. They create a giant crossover event.
I think it was around 2020 or so.
They did it for fun on the CW.
Yeah.
Which they brought in like the Michael Keaton universe, and they brought in They had the John Wesley Shipp Flash from the 1990s interacting with our Flash, and then also the movie Flash came in. It's a lot.
It was incredibly crazy, in particular, to have the actual movie Flash come in, because you know how this works. Like, TV doesn't get the grace of the movies on it. Occasionally, you can have the movies carried around, but you don't normally get that. It was, and other shows, Lucifer, Gotham was one of the only ones that left out. Like other TV shows, Birds of Prey, like stuff that was off the table for 20 years that got revived for half a scene, and stuff that was on air on other stations right now that shouldn't have been connected. Mark Guggenheim and his team pulled off one of the most impressive feats in the history of television for this. They should write tomes about this achievement. It was incredible. But he
called in favors.
Yeah. I mean,
spent his own money.
Yeah, for sure did. Like, shipped people there his damn self. But what he managed to do was he combined all these into one big theoretical universe. Pick your version of where it started. Yeah, multiverse. Which was cool, which also means for our purposes that it would have put Brendan Fraser in two places that is technically problematic.
It's not technically problematic because DC has been doing this for years and years and years. Like, Helen Slater, who played Supergirl in the 1984 movie, was, Clark's or Kal-El's fucking mother in Smallville. They do the legacy casting where somebody with the same face. Yeah. In fact, in Crisis on Infinite Earths, they had Erica Durance playing Kara's mother, Supergirl's mother, in Argo City or whatever, and then also playing Lois Lane as she did in Smallville. She doubled up. Which they had John Wesley Shipp playing at least 3 different characters.
Yeah, he's been a lot of faces here. But
faces
like normally
repeat.
You normally have a system, or you wanted to have a system.
It's just stupid fun.
Yeah, if one face repeats,
it reminds me of soap operas a little bit.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Like when they'll Lisa Rinna might be on Another World, then she went on to Days of Our Lives, and then
Melrose Place,
or you know what I mean? Well, I'm talking like Young and the Restless and General.
I mean General Hospital and One Life to Live and shit. Like,
I know. But I know those. I know I'm a bit of a soap nerd, but yeah, I know the spellings and Melrose Place and Days and all that shit.
There were crossovers. We had plenty of in-universe things.
Sort of, but like, it's those people they recycled the same faces.
The magazine, the Soap Opera Digest, you would see. It's like there's a whole kind of physical media culture that's magazines and stuff. That kind of ephemera is very important, because if it's not around, then researching an era when there's only digital, very difficult, because things can be revised and changed and anyway.
Everything you've told me tracks. I don't think there's anything.
I think it helped also that I took notes, not immediately afterward, but within a few weeks, because if I'm not mistaken, it was just a little over a month later that they announced it wasn't going to come out.
Yeah, it was August, I think.
Yeah, see, and we saw it at the end of June, and we're not supposed to say anything, but when I came home, like, I saw this movie Batgirl, and then the next day it was all over the news, and I'm like, I was one of the people that happened to have been there. I didn't think much more about it until a little over a month later, when it was like, this isn't going to come out. Oh, wait, what do I remember? And the person I went with, we discussed some stuff, and that's where I made those notes and sent them to Patton. And I had all these ideas of, anyway, so.
I think it also got, that poor story got a little lost. Like it happened, it was one of the things that happened at a time where there was a lot of upheaval in that universe and in that network and everything. Hamada's verse was dying. This was one of the last things that was going to go from it. Like, it was just busy. It was a busy news cycle. Like, we were on our podcast. It was a lot going on. Like, we didn't take a ton of time to mourn Batgirl when it happened. It was just a thing that was happening while there was a lot of other stuff happening.
Weren't they talking a lot at that time about the Flash? The Flash, I don't think it had come out yet.
It was still. I think that one. No, that still had to come out, but it was still in the middle of. They had delayed it
for so long, and there was all that weird Ezra Miller stuff going on, and then here's Batgirl, and it's like.
So when they made Batgirl, Walter Hamada had taken over the universe. He was trying to basically get rid of Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck's Superman and Batman.
Was he at the Takayama Plaza? Who was that guy you said?
Walter Hamada?
Yeah, the Takayama Plaza. That's Die Hard, right?
Mm-hmm. Nakatomi?
Nakatomi. Yes, that's it.
Nakatomi Plaza.
Sorry.
So yeah, no. Basically, there had been an AT&T Warner Brothers merger. Jason Kyler and Ann Sarnoff were very invested in making HBO Max this huge streaming giant. They wanted to release all this shit same day, and they got to because of COVID.
Stupid. They ruined so many films. In the Heights was a brilliant movie, and it needed to be seen theatrically, and I saw it that way.
Well, you know, the way I saw it, and I think the way Jason saw it as well, was at the time, COVID had already killed everything in theaters.
Yeah.
There was no way it was coming out unless it was, you know, the best way to do so would be to do, you know, same day and date.
I hadn't even thought about that balance for a while. But yeah, the other alternative, for a minute there, the alternative was, well, it can't be seen at all then.
Right. And so
in some cases, that was going to be more detrimental. Like, God, yeah. Like, In the Heights was one of the ones that absolutely got screwed by that process.
Absolutely. It should have been, I saw it theatrically, and I thought, John Chu, wow, because I don't even like the play.
Yeah.
But I saw the movie, and like, oh, I liked the movie, and I didn't really like the play. I'm like, whoa, this is a really special director. So I'm really glad he did the Wicked films. But
there were other things in there that I think did about as well as they would have otherwise. Like I think Suicide Squad and even the Matrix movie that came out the same year, I think they did about as well as they could have either way. Like they did the best with what they could in that situation. I don't think it was big.
Here's the bigger.
We had seen at the beginning of COVID, Birds of Prey did really shitty.
Well, it happened right as the theater cut off. I mean, it happened right as we all went indoors. It was unfortunate.
Pixar's Onward happened too. That was the last movie I saw. Pixar's Onward, which it was that I think it opened that weekend. They were shutting everything down.
Yeah. And, like Birds of Prey literally had 2 weeks in theaters before the March and April deadlines hit. And we all just went, okay, life isn't the same anymore.
So to push forward, like we had a fair amount of tumult. Zack Snyder's daughter committed suicide. He stepped away from Justice League. They brought in Joss Whedon to do that.
Great.
And there was a ton of backstory about how that was really that was a lot of executives who aren't there anymore for a lot of good reasons, making taking advantage of situations. You know,
they fired Jeff Johns and John Berg. Then we had Walter Hamada come in, and he knocked it out of the park with Aquaman. This is all before COVID. Aquaman made a fucking $1 billion just a few months after Justice League fucking flopped. I don't know how they managed that.
Yeah.
But because I don't even think Aquaman was that good. But that's my thing. But so Walter Hamada, though, we have a period of time where he is not putting Henry Cavill in the Superman suit. We're not seeing any kind of Ben Affleck. And then all of a sudden, we're going to do the Flash movie and we're going to change the universe. They're going to use the Flash running around back in time and changing the universe. And that film, like you said, kept getting fucking delayed and they kept doing reshoots. And it was because they were changing. They kept deciding, no, we're going to do this. Well, no, we're going to do this.
And then they had a lead who was having some mental health issues. And
all over the place. He kept having cameras on every time it happened.
But also it was not as bad as it was being reported largely by right-wing media.
There is a way of turning that story. You're right. Okay.
Oh yeah. Like every news story you saw about Ezra Miller doing anything, he has on makeup, or they have on makeup, and they're like, "Yep, see, it's the wacky trans."
Right. Yeah, he became part of the trans hate cycle, and that was not great for the movie because there were times where I think they didn't mind the delays because they kept thinking, "God, I hope this fucking stupid internet cycle would get over." It never quite did. We elected into that cycle. Like it turned out that was a baseline activity we were going to have to deal with. Like
when you actually look into the police reports and stuff, there's Ezra going, "No, I called you. I'm not the person that." Okay.
Well, I think one of the bigger things that needs to be discussed at some point is how I believe it was coming because of streaming, but COVID effectively devalued all entertainment with people because we offered so much cheaper because there was no other option. And then they found this isn't sustainable, but you've already told people it's very difficult to reduce the price of something and then put it back up. It's like you gotta find some other way.
Yeah,
that's
It like a grocery store price kind of thing. You know, once an egg is this price and you've proven you'll buy them, it's never going down again. Like when you try to control inflation, you just try to control it.
They made it so cheap, and now it's like they're like, well, I don't want to, and
that's not working out though. There's even moves back to piracy at this price.
Point. Exactly.
Yeah.
And but anyway, that's a whole thing I have about some issues with media and why there's so many. I'm not saying all these gatekeepers are great, but dear Lord, with no gatekeepers, there's just garbage all over the place. So much garbage. But in a way, I think I'd probably have that than just having just a very few outlets for just very few narrow stories. So the answer to bad speech isn't censorship, but more speech and good speech to counteract it. So I just answered that whole thing, and I apologize.
Well, you remember when you put it that way, like the indie dream, you remember from back in the Clerks days even, was just, we just want to be able to make it, like everyone wants to make a movie, or everyone should be able to make a movie. But you didn't really mean it that way, did we? Not when we think about it too hard. What we meant was we wanted there to be smaller groups of gatekeepers that more people in a meritocracy kind of situation would be able to funnel their way into. We didn't actually want every motherfucker here to be able to make a movie. Not like that. We kind of got it was a monkey's paw situation there.
So, jumping back though, when Discovery and Warner Brothers merged, they're in the middle of making The Flash with Walter Hamada, and they can't figure out what the fuck they're doing, how they're moving their universe forward.
5 different major rewrite teams, I think, on that.
5?
Not just throwing $100,000 at a treatment, like major rewrite teams, like brought in a thing and it was press.
But they had a release date, right?
Several.
Oh, okay.
Half a dozen.
Because that's the thing is, that's one of the major things that happened when the team came into Disney, when they took it over, is all of a sudden they were setting release dates for things like, oh, before we just release Fox and the Hound when we feel like it's done. He's like, no, you have to have a date and budget and plan and have that verve. And anyway, go ahead.
Yeah.
So like at the end of the Flash movie, winds up with, the Flash has changed the past in this tiny little way that he thinks he can get away with. And then he comes back into the present, and it had Ben Affleck as Batman in it. And at the end, the car pulls up, Bruce Wayne gets out, and it's George Clooney who played Batman in a different movie.
Yeah.
Now, so we had 3 different Bruce Waynes in this movie. Ben Affleck, Michael Keaton, and George Clooney. Originally, the ending was Michael Keaton was going to get out, and this was now a merging of Snyderverse, Hamada's reign, and Tim Burton's universe. So that was what Batgirl was going to be.
That way he could retire Snyderverse entirely as well.
Yeah. So Batgirl was going to be set in a universe where it's a combination of all these movie universes, where we get Michael Keaton, but with Zack Snyder's Commissioner Gordon, who was J.K. Simmons.
Yep.
It was, and at the same time, Jason Kyler and Walter Hamada were very big on the idea that they were going to make very, 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 very cheap movies for streaming. This was never meant to be released theatrically, Batgirl. It was always going to be an HBO Max movie.
Yeah.
So when David Zaslav came in, he looked at all the numbers and said, it's very clear that it's not worth making a movie and just releasing it on the fucking streaming. You need to release it in theaters because it makes way more money on streaming if it's released in theaters first. They looked at Batgirl. They said, this is too fucking cheap. The thing they don't say, and I don't know why, the thing they don't say in public is this does not exist. This movie does not exist in any version of the universe we're creating going forward. We have abandoned the Snyderverse. We have abandoned Walter Hamada. Walter Hamada fucking quit when he found out they might cancel Batgirl.
Yeah.
He basically threatened them, and they were like, well, get the fuck out then.
And we'll just go ahead and cancel it.
No severance. We don't have to, you're fucking breaking your contract. Get the fuck out.
Yeah. No need to worry about it.
So that's what we're looking at. That's why Batgirl is dead. Because James Gunn they already knew James Gunn wasn't going to follow through with that universe.
Yeah.
And they didn't want him to.
Zaslav was...
they had already some months, maybe even a year before, they were already trying to get him to do Superman and knew that he was going to make his own version of Superman, like Matt Reeves was making his own version of Batman that was not in universe. So the fact that he wound up taking over the studio or creating a studio for DC and running that's beside the point, because they already knew they were going to do that Superman movie with him.
Yeah. There was so much transition that
follow through.
Very little of Batgirl is canceled on its own merit makes it out of that news, because it becomes another story about the Flash. It becomes another story about Zaslav's takeover. It became a story about about even HBO Max and the state of all that, and the state of streaming television and the state of theater.
And that Looney Tunes film.
And the Looney Tunes film at the same time. Yeah.
Which sounds like it's going to actually be able to come out now, which is.
And funnily enough, a lot of people backed it and said, no, this was genuinely good. And then, but the only people who've come out about Batgirl and said, no, it's great, are people who haven't seen it. Or the people that were in it, which you can't really trust.
And Brendan Fraser.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry. She's like, I saw it and it was great. Okay, I saw it and it wasn't great, but it wasn't a disaster at all.
Yeah, and I don't begrudge any of that. Like, Man, I have every bit of sympathy for this. You work really hard on something for a long time. Somebody tells you you're going to be fucking Batgirl. That would be the greatest moment of your life. And to have that taken away. Fuck, to even be in a Batman movie of any kind, to be Brendan Fraser, even in what I think is the worst costume I've ever seen on film, I would still be thrilled beyond any repair. I would never get over this heartbreak. I get it.
Because we did watch a bunch of the
set. It's not like they didn't spend all the time.
No, this wasn't a talk that went the wrong way. You did it, and it just
no. And I mean, I don't remember any dialogue that seemed like it needed to be looped that wasn't already done. I mean, it really seemed like it just needed the effects, and maybe if they wanted to do some additional editing with the story and pacing and whatnot.
Yeah,
but it was. Except with no credits opening or closing, and seeing the ropes and some green screen and whatnot. But there are no storyboards that I remember. It was really.
I want to say it was like less than $10 million away. Is one of the reports we heard.
See, I don't know. They say the film is a $70 million budget. Now, it's very difficult for me to tell how far that goes nowadays.
Well, sure.
It did have the appearance of like it was shot all around the same 3 blocks, although a bigger series of blocks than in Kiss of the Spider-Woman, but still it seemed small in that way. It wasn't a scope film. It was 1:8:5:1. I remember that. And it didn't have a lot of fancy camera work, but it was very competently done. There was nothing sloppy about it. There were no bad performances. I was worried when they said Batgirl and there was all these rumblings. I'm like, oh crap, I don't watch these DC films. I'm not going to know anything that's what's going on. But it was very palatable to go in not knowing anything.
Straightforward plot. They explained it well enough.
Well, I don't know about that, but it seemed like it was the kind of thing where other people might be in on an in joke, but the main story, it doesn't matter whether I get it or not. Like when J.K. Simmons showed up, I heard, I'm like, what? Because I didn't know he'd been in other DC projects. So
just Justice League.
Yeah.
Oh,
well, I mean, it really just been one scene in Justice League that was basically untampered with. And but at the same time, me and Dave would have been in the back of the theater geeking out entirely about what all that means and the implications, staring at each other deeply in the middle of the movie, just downloading, oh my God. But yeah, you don't have to have all that.
People must have known. I mean, like, that's the thing is I didn't know what the film was, but the fact that there apparently were so many fans there, because again, there
aren't enough to keep the fucking DC movies from flopping up to that point.
No, but what I mean is there were enough people there that, being someone who didn't know the universe, being in the audience and hearing their reactions, their gasps, or oh. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. There were enough people, like when J.K. Simmons popped up, they're like, oh. I don't think it was because they'd seen him in Whiplash or the commercials or Juno. I think it was because they'd seen him in something else that I didn't know about. But then when Brendan Fraser showed up, that it's like the temperature in the room rose a little bit, and the chairs, everyone was paying more attention. It's like when you go to a Broadway show and something happens that shocks everybody, and they say you could hear a pin drop. even these huge theaters, it was like that because we're like, and then it was like, oh, dude, it just felt special.
See, that's wonderful though. Yeah, like, so looking at the history again, like he had done Doom Patrol, but here's another thing about that role. You see him for a few minutes here and there, but he plays a robot guy. It's a mostly voiced over role. And he does a phenomenal job at it, but like you don't see him a lot. And he'd done that sort of the On the Border, or I think that's what I just said a minute ago. I've never seen it, but he'd gotten a little bit then. But yeah, I guess this was one of the times when we were going to see him again finally. And to actually see him, I don't know if it came across that way, but I mean, he's Brendan Fraser. We know who he is. Everybody knows who he is. You just hadn't seen him in 20 years, it feels like.
Well, the first person we saw, I'll just go through.
No sudden move, by the way.
No sudden move. Thank you.
Wow. Well, I'll tell you, I'll just go through what I can remember of the story.
Sure.
And then I want to look at my notes, or maybe if you have them, or if you have any questions about them, that's probably better.
I have yours pulled up, and then I actually have a couple of internet things that were similar-ish that I wanted to be like, hey, how does this track with you?
Well, I'll tell you what
I'd love to jog your memory, possibly.
So, they announce, this is you're the first audience to see Batgirl, plus, plus, plus. I'm like, I don't know. Is Cujo? I mean, I didn't know. Bats, it just whatever. And then the lights dim and it starts up and it's a cold winter night. And when I thought about this later, I couldn't quite pin down the time frame because it just wasn't, sometimes like the movie or the play Mamma Mia, it seems like it's set 20 years before it actually was because the internet, you know what I mean? It doesn't line up with stuff. Well, so it's winter and there's J.K. Simmons. I think from what I remember is he's doing some sort of a stakeout, or he's going to do a stakeout under some bridge. And his daughter, I think she hid out in the car. She wasn't supposed to be in it. This little girl,
little scamp.
Yeah. And he's like, you're supposed to be home with your mother, whatever. And she's like, I want to see you get the bad guys, daddy. And he's like, oh, fine, fuck it. And he's at the time during this,
great parenting.
Well, I mean, he's like, just stay in the back seat and stay down. And
she's already there. Yeah, do your best. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, stay in the back seat and keep down, and no matter what, don't get it. She's like, okay,
right.
Don't die.
Because just make sure you keep my fucking tempo.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing is like, I thought maybe he was her grandfather. But then it became apparent he was her father, and I'm like, oh, I mean, not everybody's a Tony Randall.
Look,
you know what I mean?
Effects weren't done. Off. Maybe they're going to age him a little bit. They had 3 months.
You mean?
DH. They had 3 months left, maybe.
But the toupee, the knowledge in the eyes doesn't go away unless you get Robert Zemeckis involved. You're
not wrong.
But then you also lose the humanity.
Yeah.
Again, get Robert Zemeckis involved and it's fine. So he's telling her to stay in there, and then there's some kind of confrontation with, I don't know if it's drug people or whatever that's going on. And it's revealed somehow that, we've got your wife and child. He's like, no, you don't, because he didn't say that. And they rush back to their apartment or whatever, and it's in flames, and you see like the pictures of the family burning up and whatnot. And there's this big figure, if I can recall correctly, running out or whatever. And later on we learned that was Firefly, but I guess that's his name. Is that?
Yeah, Firefly.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And but they're there, and so his wife is dead, but he's got this little girl, and it might have been actually before this. I'm not sure if it's before or after, but the little girl is in a dance class, a ballet class. And it's so bad, I can't remember if it was before or after now, but I think it was before. They were seeing the ballet and stuff. And then after her mom's dead, she's growing up and she's doing ballet. And there's this other little boy in there that they kind of see each other, whatnot. Nothing really happens, but that ends up being her love interest later on. And so she's living with her dad and very quickly grows up from that little 6-year-old girl to she's got to be playing somewhere between 18 and 20. And J.K. Simmons barely changes at all.
Yeah. He's going to look like J.K. Simmons.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it's kind of true of J.K. Simmons anyway. Like, I'm pretty sure that guy's been about 70 years old for the last 30
he's
years.
But it's
looked
just
that way since he was 27, I think.
they shouldn't have put the bad toupee on though, because it was a color of blonde that I've never seen except on like shag carpeting or like those weird throws in the 70s. You know, like it's
now,
a
did it go
blonde
from red? Did it go
that's
from
probably
red to
what it
blonde?
is. That's probably what it is. Like a strawberry blonde that at that age.
See, from the set photos, I thought it looked like a Bon Jovi blonde or some crap like that. But
From the set photos, I thought it looked like just an orange red.
yeah, I mean, just all those are real grainy and smoky, I guess, that I was seeing him in. But
I'm colorblind anyway, so I don't fucking know.
I usually see colors better than I do.
Well, so what we do, we find out that apparently the people that were, well, let me see. Let me go back to where I was. So J.K. Simmons, grandpa dad, has a little girl. His wife and his daughter were targeted. His wife died, but his daughter didn't. And then we go forward in time. But before we do that, as a little girl, we see her dancing, and there's a little boy, and they make eyes. And I think we see that his family owns this. It's not a department store. It's not a restaurant either. It's some big, I don't know, some kind of a more upscale kind of like Harrods kind of a place, I suppose, in Gotham. You know, Harrods in the UK, like you could get everything there from like, you know, fur coats to cheese or something. I mean, like it's like a weird Walmart of like everything.
But a classy one?
I guess. I don't know. I've never been there. I just know what I've heard about it, and they make fun of it, and that show absolutely fabulous. So,
missed that show.
So, but his family, that this guy,
I haven't thought about that show. It's so long.
Yeah, sorry. Good
well,
memory.
I'm gay, so. And the older I get, the more I remember most everything somehow, and it connects up with other things, and it's kind of nutty. It drives people crazy. I'm gonna die alone.
Well, I'll tell you this: I'm not gay, but my dad, based on everything I read and watched, thought I was for the entirety of my childhood.
You had to come out as straight. Bless your heart.
Yeah, pretty much.
A relief to some and annoyance to others.
God. Let me think.
My dad would burst into the room and be like, I knew it. I'm like, fuck you.
God.
It's just fine. It's just a funny show. God.
It is funny.
Calm down.
It's very funny. So anyway, that kid that she's making eyes with, that boy, we learn later on, his family runs this big fancy department store. That's terrible because it seems more like a Pier 1 kind of a place. But so even that.
Was he a Falcone? Did it seem like they were using that store as a front for mob shit?
Oh, well, at one time, I think, because they grow up and then she's visiting grandpa dad at the station and going through like evidence stuff. And at some point finds some old, I think it was like cat outfit or something. And she takes it and makes it into her bat uniform. I don't.
That has been insinuated by some.
I thought it said cat. It couldn't have been Catwoman. Like Catwoman's outfit. She wouldn't have done that.
Yeah, but I think that is what's happened here. There's an insinuation. I think you may be telling more than I've seen out there too. Right here is
because I remember them saying cat, and I'm like, I must have misheard that because that means is she dead? Can she exist without her leather outfit?
Well, but she's old. She would be old.
And a number of cats.
That's a good point.
Because Keaton's old as fuck.
Yeah, but no, in this, when he shows up, he looks like he's been freshly polished.
He looks good.
Well, he's polished, but he's still old. And he was old in The Flash.
Well, in The Flash, though, they made him disheveled, and then they cleaned him up.
Oh, no, he was very cleaned up. He was in a tux. It was a white tie event. That was at that store I'm telling you about, the Asian guy's family. I don't know what the hell that started. They were having a big event there, some kind of charity thing, and there were former mobsters that were involved with the police and stuff that were there that have gone straight. They're saying, and
I think we're confusing clean cut with old with disheveled. He's old still. He's still like retired for the most part. In The Flash. I'm just saying they were old, and that's why they're, they could do stuff with Catwoman's costume.
No, okay.
Because she's old.
I see that's
maybe dead.
The timeline. That's what I couldn't quite grasp because for J.K. Simmons, because it seems like it's set modern day. We start off 12 or think they even say like 12 or 13 years in the past, and she was 6 years old. So she's like 18, 19. It's very young. It's something like that. So, but even so, it doesn't like, would that line up with Catwoman being too old? I don't know. And J.K. Simmons,
this too.
I don't know.
Catwoman just needs to be roughly the same age as Batman. If we're going for, and I've read instances where they were saying that it was like Michelle Pfeiffer's costume from Batman Returns.
Yeah, that is exactly the thing that there may or may not have been a reference to. This is someone, there's a couple people online. Funnily enough, there's a couple quotes online from people I've got someone who saw the movie kind of thing. There's some of these are similar enough that one of them I half thought was you for a second. Like, they all track with what I've seen. This one, the quote in one of these articles was, there may or may not have been a reference to Jason Todd, who is a big character in the DC universe, but there's no Robin in this movie. They do show Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman mask, which is a nice little Easter egg, although Michelle Pfeiffer is not in the movie. So it probably is her actual mask, and that is the reference point. Because, other people kind of more familiar with the material in this case were like, that's definitely Michelle Pfeiffer's mask.
Then that might have been something I didn't catch on to, because I never saw I saw the first Batman film, and I've seen Batman and Robin, the Riff Tracks version, but that's it. I've not seen Batman Returns.
She would have been in Returns, and then, so the people that were like, I know that leather mask. I think that part of the story is what didn't get released, what you're telling us now really is that, like, that becomes her costume. That is definitely Catwoman's thing.
And modifies it though, and she doesn't do it. I don't think she does anything until after this big event that she's going to. And she has some friends. I don't remember much about them. There was one that I believe was played by a woman. She presented as female, but was maybe trans. I don't know. They didn't have a lot. I don't remember a lot about it because
that matches
there is
a trans
Ivory
character
Aquino
in the comics.
Is her name?
I don't know, but they had a bar that they went to and hung out at, and
then I guess Ed Wade would be the other friend.
But there wasn't much to say. But anyway, so let me think. So they're at this. She's not really dating, but she's still friends with that guy whose family has the big, fancy
dick
door, and they're having this big benefit, and something goes awry. I don't remember exactly what it was, and I know during that is when there are some shots of Michael Keaton, and the audience was like, oh, and even I knew who Michael Keaton was. I'm like, wait, he's in the, and
kind of GA kind of knows, oh, that was Batman.
Well,
knows
Batman.
Something I don't remember, again, the timeline of things putting together. We find out that after this big event happens, that it was I believe Firefly, I think he was retaliating, because then I remember all the stuff with Brendan Fraser, where he is talking with the guys. They're like, look, we're not involved. We're legit now. He's like, yeah, but I've got to work. I've got this sick wife. And they're like, he's like, I took care of all these jobs for you. I just need more. And like, sorry, we're legit now. We're running for this. And we've got this big event to go to. And I believe he's the one that trashes the whole place and everything. And then we get to learn more about his life, where he, again, I couldn't believe it, he goes into, it was a CVS or a Walgreens or something, and is trying to get medication for his wife. Like, your insurance doesn't work. He's like, but it's like, sorry, it's like, $12,000. He's like, oh, and so he leaves without any medication for his wife. And then they're in a little flea bag apartment, and he's talking to somebody. I vaguely remember, he's like, and it kind of reminded me of every time I try to get out, they pull me back in, but the opposite. It's like, they trained me for this, and now they don't want me. And I don't have anything else that I can offer. There's nothing else I can do.
Yeah. That's the only one of the themes, is what happens when the people in power abandon those that relied on them.
Yeah, they apparently he had some kind of health insurance that covered prescription coverage with these mobsters. I don't know. And they removed him off his plan, because I was like, what? Yeah. And then he goes back, and his wife is really sick, and then they get evicted, and he takes her down to the sewer, which can't be a good place for someone that's bedridden. But somehow he gets her down there, and they get some good lighting in a corner. It's like The Third Man a little bit, except nice, and it got a hospital bed lighting and IV and everything, and they're just down there, and he's plotting. And he can also, being in the sewer, I remember some parts where he could like look up and surveil the old analog style like stuff that was going on. I don't just images of things. Anyway, so he's down in the sewers, and then really wanting to at the same time that people want to find him for killing these people and doing all this stuff. And they also, I think, want to pin a lot of stuff on him, which he may have done, but he wasn't the only one. So they want to get rid of him because he knows about stuff that they've done. They're trying to go legit, but also he's wanting to show them, look what you've done. And he's just killing people. And then his wife dies, and I dozed off, so I don't really have all the ending at all. But I know that at some point, the girl and the guy, they're dating. She has the outfit. It kind of reminded me a little bit of that plot on South Park when Cartman was it Dr. Demento, or no, it wasn't that. He would dress up, or maybe it was Butters would dress up as Dr. Demento.
God, it's been a while.
Was that it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it just reminded me of kind of playing that part, because she was just kind of, it came off like she was very young and she just wanted to try and be involved in law enforcement because her dad didn't want her to be. And but she wanted to, and she was always hanging around the office. And then that's how she somehow is in the locker, and then comes across, I don't think they're allowed to take stuff, but maybe if the person is passed on or something and no one claims it. But I mean, that was a nice patent leather outfit for somebody.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd want to wear somebody's old nasty patent leather outfit. Ew. Do you know what I mean? Because
especially that
nothing
one.
good can come from that, man.
No, because you can't wear underwear in that stuff.
No.
They cover you in talcum powder, and then you have to put, ew.
No.
And a yeast infection.
Go check out Batman Returns. Like, you could see your fucking ovaries.
You can. Yeah. That unlocked a lot of childhoods right there.
Whatever. So back to Batgirl. Sorry.
Actually, I forget where we were on Batgirl. Actually.
Well, I mean, I can just tell you, I don't remember much of the ending. I know apparently Firefly died, but to be honest, every time he came on screen, these scenes with him and his wife, he was so tender and loving towards her, but then he also wanted to work. And I think he may have gone to, I don't know if he went to an employment agency or LinkedIn or online, or there was something. I think it showed him making an effort. And I don't think he could even get a job as a janitor or anything, because there are younger people, there are people with experience. And, if your main thing was torching people for the mob, I don't know if you can get your CDL. And that isn't, you know what I mean?
Serious resume gap there of 25 years.
And it just made it real in a way that was a little disturbing. We don't like to think of our heroes or villains like taking metformin or something, you know what I mean? Or like, oh, Batman, he's got to take his glucose or what, you know what I mean? It just made it real in a way that was disconcerting.
Were they also doing kind of like an ex-con analog with him? Because a lot of the similarities here are there. I mean, he gets out.
Oh, he probably was. Because I'm sure he was a convict, and that kept him from other work as well.
Like situationally, he's at that same dead end that you see a lot of those stories. I mean, yeah.
And his wife is dead. He has nothing to live for and everything to die for. But
so
the thing
how does that play in? Where does she die in this that you remember?
His wife, I don't remember. I think he was out doing something and he came back with food or groceries, I think. And then she's just dead on the hospital bed.
She just conks it.
Yeah.
That's my vague recollection.
Sepsis away.
Yeah.
But I mean, he had her in the fucking.
I know.
I just thought
she's died in the refrigerator.
Well, just the smell alone. You know what I mean? And she's on an IV, and it's like, here's some sewer gas. I'm sure you'll be fine. The rent's cheap. Yeah, but they had good lighting. That's what I don't quite get that. I mean, he had these lights all around, but
the skeleton of the penguin floats by.
Yeah.
And then I don't remember a lot of how it resolved. I know J.K. Simmons wasn't around much. And I know that somehow the girl and the new, I don't think he's a fiance, boyfriend, whatever, they're learning more about the past dealings of the new investors in the place. And they're like, maybe we don't want to get involved with them. So I think this is right. I would love if somebody sees and they're like, yes, this is right. How did you remember? Okay.
I'd love to piece it together if we can.
I hope so. But now that I'm talking about it, it's sort of like being in therapy when all of a sudden you reveal.
Wait. I remember this now.
Your therapist is like, yeah. They're like, wait a minute, what? I'm like, yeah, my mom. Under our tree, there was always a bunch of presents to Kathy from Kathy. He's like, that's weird. I'm like, everybody's mom doesn't do that.
Yeah.
Anyway. But yeah, so I believe she and her boyfriend, whatever, they're wondering why the place was torched and whatnot, and they're doing some investigation on the merger, the money that's coming in, the something political stuff. I don't know, import export. I think that's what they did, import export. It was an import export place. That's probably why I thought Pier 1, because that covers everything, import export. Hell.
Yeah.
It's like when people ask
Vandalay.
It's like when people ask me, "What's that movie about?" I'm like, "Just say Love and Redemption." That covers everything. Fox
The hero's
Love
journey,
and Redemption.
man. It was about a hero's journey. That's all.
Titanic, Love and Redemption.
Yeah.
Showgirls, Love and Redemption.
What happened? It's
all the same thing.
Yeah.
Listen.
Yeah.
So they're finding this out, like they're wanting to find out why their place was torched, and they're thinking it has something to do with this money merger, whatever. Those people don't want their past to be exposed, but they've got this Firefly guy, and he doesn't give a fuck about anything. He's going to kill them, kill innocent people. It doesn't matter. None of it matters. And the film, the way it was structured and put together, or maybe it was Brendan's performance, we actually felt more sympathetic towards him. Like, yeah, torch the fuckers. We can't get our prescription drugs either. And it made it seem like
not
he
the
was
bad guy here. It's the guys who left him.
But he is killing people, and he is a bad. But we like him because the man has been bad to him also.
But the more
it's like
they made the guys with money here, they made them more static.
Oh yeah, and that's why I remember so
people.
much about Brendan Fraser's character, because it seemed like the audience, not only did we like him as an actor, and we have that history of seeing him in other films, from George of the Jungle, Encino Man, whatever.
Yeah, he's an American icon.
This, but it also was like, I've had trouble at CVS or with my prescriptions, and then getting a prior auth, and then the co-pays, and then you change insurance. It's such a normal person kind of thing, and to think that
everybody's had a moment of panic about a prescription.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like stage, CVS when they refill it, and they'll be like, "It's $1,200." I'm like, "No, it's not." And I go there and it's free, but it's it made it seem like when he was dead,
our card's on file, David.
Yeah. Well, when he was dead at the end, I felt kind of sad. I mean, he did kill people, and it was right but it seemed like the audience liked him in such a way that I had the idea that when this was scrapped, I thought, out of the test screening, he's what everyone remembered and talked about. His scenes are the ones I remember the most, because they were the most interesting and affecting. And I thought
that was the hubbub we heard too. Was that
it might be smart for them to trash this and then use him, but rebuild him into something else, because the response to him was so strong. At least I don't know what the scores were. I just know what the vibe felt like every time he came on screen, and the energy in that room. That's one reason why it's great to see, even if you see a film that at a theater you've seen at home a dozen times, when you see it live in a theater with other patrons, it is a different experience. And you sense that, and you could sense when the audience was interested and when they weren't, and they were always interested when Brendan was on screen, but not always the case with everyone else, which is a problem. If the movie's called Batgirl, it's not called Firefly. Although, isn't that Josh Whedon? Doesn't he have a show, Firefly?
That was
he had a show called Firefly many years ago.
And
I wonder if Zaslav just looked at this and said, "You know what? I don't like how they're making the mob out to be the bad guy."
But it wasn't.
The money people aren't bad. Get rid of this. Yeah.
People are talking about, why don't they just release it? Why don't they just release it?
Yeah,
more work has to be done on it. I mean,
wait, I just realized something.
Ropes.
So the bad guy in this movie is the insurance industry, effectively,
or is it the mob?
Well, it's the mob. It's
but
the
hear
people
me out.
That went. Oh well, they're HMO. They're whatever. Yeah, I hear you.
I mean, but the inciting incident here is that he could not get his insurance coverage. He couldn't get his health coverage. It was an insurance issue.
He couldn't get his medication for his sick wife because he no longer. Well, the employer says you don't work for them. He's like, yeah, I kill people. I've not had to kill anybody lately. It felt like when you. Well, it was odd. I mean.
He said that.
No, but it's my feeling. It's like, I was thinking, like, how is he supposed to prove, it's like unemployment. It's like, are you still looking for work? I'm like, yeah, I went around and nobody needs to be killed, I mean, that's what he does.
Couldn't find anybody needs to be dead to pay for it. But so we're in a movie where health insurance was the bad guy, and we're talking about a film that was canceled for insurance purposes.
Well, to take a loss yeah, but
tax write-off.
It would be smart if it was for a reason rather than to save money, because his star ended up going way up, and with it just the effects finished, it would have done just fine, just based on that star power. And it wasn't that it did look like it was cheaper, but only because the lighting wasn't as dramatic, it wasn't as fancy. There wasn't, but it didn't need to be. And the stuff with Brendan worked. Now, if they were going to cancel it and because they wanted to do something with that character and start something new rather than have him die at the end of this one, that would have made perfect sense to me because everybody loved him. Even though he was killing people, we were oddly okay with it because of the insurance situation.
Yeah. We can all identify
think
that.
Mostly, they said it looks too cheap to go onto the big screen. I think it's mostly because it's the movie didn't follow along in the same universe that they were wanting to. They didn't want to do anything else with that universe, but also they didn't want to keep paying Walter Hamada, who would have continued to be like an executive producer because he was involved in casting. They didn't want to keep paying the directors because they were involved in casting. Those names were all going to be up in producers' credits, and they would have had to keep paying them if they wanted to use any part of that universe. Even if it was just Leslie Grace.
That would be way not worth it for them after a while.
All those things, several things can be true at the same time as well. I mean, you make a list of positives and negatives, and at that point, whoever's making the list has a lot of control. And, you can list a lot of negatives that are really a lot of perceptions or guesses. I mean, the film, when they said it wasn't of good enough quality, and I think the lead actress who played Batgirl came out and said, no, I saw the film, it was good. I think she was taking it as the film wasn't good, and they were taking it as it didn't look like the amount of effort, the care that goes into every shot. A lower budget film, there are less setups, there are less, but I agree with her that it wasn't a bad movie.
Somebody also said that the action, like all the framing was too central. It didn't have that left and right across the screen feel that you're supposed to have for like a cinematic thing. It was
185 to 1. It was very TV safe. That's true. But I don't see that framing used for all that much dramatic stuff. Usually it's the scope films that tend to make use of lighting and framing in such a wild way. But it wasn't a scope film. You're right. Most films now, if it's a big Indiana Jones, Star Wars, whatever, it's 235 to 1, 239 to 1, And this wasn't that. It did seem, but you know what? Neither were the old Batman films. They were 185 to 1 films as well. Yeah. Batman and Batman Forever. Yeah. So,
but I think there was a period there that was being shot as big as it could because we were going to crop it for whatever physical media showed up as at that time, whatever Sony and JVC were doing that was on shelves. By the way, something that really affected this film that is deeply unfortunate because when you do the math, I think me and you were talking about this, was I think it's like 51% in favor of don't release this movie because you could make a genuine argument either way. And the one thing that like really sucked for this movie was the other part of timing it had against it was that a year before we had done the Snyder Cut, and it like part of the reason the movie wasn't released is it's our fucking fault, like the fans' fault. We overreacted, and I mean, not us in particular, but as a fan group, if you're Warner Brothers, you're watching the fans, as one monolithic culture and trying to interpret that. And what you saw was a bunch of entitled jackasses who got what they wanted and demanded even more after it. That, we gave them an inch, they thought they were a ruler kind of thing. And like, it would be really hard to decide to do that again on a film that possibly created even more questions as far as the continuity goes. As far as the nerddom of it all goes, we were going to have even more fucking problems. We did not create a very inviting environment for Warner Brothers to release this movie, if I'm going to be honest with ourselves.
But if I was Warner Brothers, I would have stopped making DC movies a long time ago.
To that effect, after Watchmen,
What's sad is that work was good. I mean, Brendan Fraser was great in it. I mean, maybe they could have reworked it into being something else with his footage and character, and he lived and went on to be, sort of like Blofeld in 007, right? In several things. I mean, he had that charisma, and we cared about him, even though he was killing people.
Yeah. Like how? So, what do you remember about? Like, do you remember your favorite three or close to?
Oh yeah, well, some of them. I remember. One of them was really nicely done with the little girl. I think after her mom has died, she is more involved with dance and whatnot. And there's her dancing and the little boy and seeing each other. And I just remember a little bit of a montage there that seems kind of sweet, sort of like I never saw the movie, but the trailer for Shall We Dance with Richard Gere and Susan Sarandon and Jennifer Lopez. It's a remake
Hmm.
of a Japanese film, I believe, about a tango instructor. And there are a lot of shots seen through windows and people alone and looking out of windows. There were shots like that of her and the little boy and dance. This is my memory of what I remember. So that was something. Getting his insurance messed up at CVS or Walgreens, or whatever, because I was like, who hasn't had that be an issue, you know? And I think the scene where he breaks down with his wife, and there was something with her moving in, they're in the apartment and they're gonna have to be evicted, and he kind of gives sort of like a speech like, I'm not good for anything else. This is what I do, is I kill people. And I mean, you know, you can't try that at the employment office, you know.
Well, yeah, like you remember people lose track of what the real meaning of Rambo was, but you remember the actual end of Rambo was
You mean First Blood, the first one?
I don't remember it well enough, so I'm going to trust you. But what I do remember is, the speech at
First
the end.
Blood, and then it's Rambo First Blood Part 2. Is that how it goes, the chronology?
I think so. Yeah. But yeah, like the very last bit of that, all I do remember about this is the speech. The speech was what got to me, was this is all I know. They send me over there to run these $4 million, which at that time was huge, $4 million instruments. Then I come over here, I can't fucking pack groceries or whatever it is he says. Like it a real genuine problem, not even close to address since fucking Rambo's days. But like, yeah, that's the sentiment we were supposed to come away with, was he's clearly not meant to be the main villain here. Like you were meant to, like, Batgirl's clearly our white knight here. We know who the good guy is. It sounds like the Falcons, the mob, they're definitely our Team Black. And then it sounds like we get Firefly in between. That you were welcome to love and hate at the same time.
Everybody loved him. I mean, we wanted him because all he wanted to do, it seemed, is just to go straight, but he couldn't get a job. He couldn't get a referral. I don't think, of course, I don't know, because they didn't want to be associated with him because he had a criminal past. He's like, can't you even refer me to other people? And they're like, no.
Because then my name will be on it. And yeah.
Well, because they're like, we're legit now. And I don't know. That whole legit thing is like when someone says they're 100% straight or 100% gay, people are on a scale.
It's a spectrum, baby.
I mean, so I think that's what they were uncovering, is Batgirl and her like boyfriend guy is not only their past ties, but maybe it isn't so clean. And Firefly is really just a symptom of the bigger problem.
Yeah. They're letting him tell the story about how much he got fucked over, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Jason, did you want to go over like the other notes from all these other people and see if you can jog?
I was curious about a couple things. Firefly, at some point, I think you mentioned that I'm just going off memory for a second, but it's Firefly's death. You said did he burn?
I believe so.
But I think at some point, does somebody shoot him as well? Like, did they shoot the tank?
It's all, I don't, because I was falling asleep. So whole ending, I don't know.
We may even catch up if, I want to say at some point you mentioned that your friend maybe said somebody shot that guy.
Oh, that Augie. Yeah. But even his message to me, again, broken English.
Wait. I think you said that he said like the cute guy shot him or something. And then I looked up the IMDb. I was like, there's only two guys here that might be the cute guy. I don't know which, like.
Oh, well, I'm thinking it was probably the boyfriend whose family had
who would have
the
wanted to say
import-export business. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, because they were dating. I don't think it was a full love story. They were friends. I remember there's a scene where they go on like a group date or something. And that's where the trans or the gender nonconforming person has like blue hair and stuff. And there's like glow lights and what was sad is all the scenes with Batgirl and people that were apparently in their late teens, early 20s, they didn't seem to talk like people that were that age, and they behaved like people were watching them.
Actually, hold on.
Now, that may be an issue with acting or the way it was shot.
No, I'm going to propose it might be the script, because let me find something real quick.
Oh, you're talking about that weird...
Yeah.
Oh, my
there
God.
Is a screenshot of this of it's the back of her head, and the front of his name is Bressie. I can probably find his actual, well, I don't know if you'd know him by his real name, or if I can find Bressie very quickly on IMDb. Maybe not.
Yeah, I'm just going with Chuck from Kentucky now, because who else would claim that?
Yeah. Maybe Billy Clement. Jacob Skippy. Anyway, all right. So whoever was this though,
Go by Kentucky.
nice. So here's the actual script spot. It says exterior Gotham still night. It's these two talking in what looks like possibly a very large sewer, but possibly just a tunnel, some kind of tunnel. Maybe under a bridge, could be anything. Bressie approaches Babs, looking unsure of how she even got past security. She smirks and pops her knuckles with glee. Bressie, that was some stunt you pulled back there. Everyone is going to be looking for a girl in a bat costume. Babs, I think I scared him enough. ... Plus, I got what I needed. Bressie, maybe I just don't get the batin' time thing. Is that a catchphrase?
That's so bad.
That's bad. That's
And
bad.
the thing is that it takes really good, seasoned performers to sell shit or to shine it.
Yeah.
And these younger performers, they don't have that gravitas to do that. So when they're reading these things off, it felt more like a, like if you're in a play at church and you're a teenager in the play, that's not what real teenagers are like.
No, yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
had that kind of, our parents are watching.
This went through another demographics filter before it came back to us. You know.
Oh, yeah, that might have something to do with the rating. It very, the violence, I didn't see any blood or anything, and the action violence was, I just remember a lot of broken glass.
Well,
flying
right,
through
so
things.
there is another scene. Actually, you want to take a proper break and we'll hit back. So that's another good question. So what, all right, a general question. What the hell is Batgirl doing in the movie Batgirl? So one of her main factors is going to be that her mom got burnt.
And she wants to avenge her mom. She doesn't know who did it. She knows she was supposed to have been there, and there's her and her dad don't talk about it. I remember there was a scene where she's cooking stuff and they're eating dinner, but they're not eating together. They're walking past each other eating. I don't know, it's an impression. But yeah, their communication's not good, and she doesn't, I don't think she knows.
And that's why she's an adult, but they're...
You know what? There was something that was dropped at the scene of the crime that ties Firefly to the murder. And they have it in evidence. It was a card or a photo or something, or a match, but there was something that was tied to him. And that's another reason why he's kind of stuck in a weird position, is because then those murderers or that murder will be pinned on him.
Okay. So he's down for the murder of a cop's wife.
Yeah. But
Ultimately.
he was hired by the people that now are good with the cops. And it's
Yeah.
like, well, what? Hell's bells, you know what I mean? I can't even get my Sudafed. Jeez, I mean, everybody's taking our jobs.
He's not in great shape.
No, I was kidding. Now we can't even get our assassins. Our Brendan Fraser assassins can't get his Ozempic.
No.
I mean, it's not.
That's
right.
a truly bad state. Now,
And if any assassins, if we need any assassins to get their Ozempic, it's definitely Brendan
Right.
Well,
Fraser.
but you know what? Now I see that, because it gets revealed later. She finds out that it was Firefly that killed her mother.
Mm-hmm.
And
okay.
I mean, we feel bad about that as an audience, I think, but we like Brendan Fraser so much, and it's not like he killed her because he hated her or whatever. It was a job.
No, it was a job.
He's like, show up here, kill these people.
Yeah.
And when they show the scene from his point of view, because when we first see the place torched and whatnot, it's from kind of like the little girl's point of view.
Now there's a scene in the set footage that's outside of an apartment. There's two burning buildings in kind of the set footage that's available. One of them is outside of a pharmacy, Clear Pharmacy, with the Caduceus symbol and everything.
Well, that's when he torched it because he couldn't get his wife's cancer meds or something.
And he's just kind of angry at them, so he just torches the building. Well,
he leaves first. But I mean, they were like, you can't get it. He's like, it costs this much. He's like, I don't have that money. He's like, well, then you can't get. He's like, but and then he torches it. So that's what that is.
Does he at least go in and get the meds before he?
No, but he
burns
couldn't
the
get
place?
them. He couldn't pay for them. He couldn't.
When he goes and
like,
torches the place, hopefully he grabs like a.
When he breaks.
Oh no!
Yeah, because this footage shows him walking out.
Yeah, in plain clothes. I mean, it's just him in a brown jacket.
He didn't get any then.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't remember him getting the meds at all, because then his wife did die, but she was in the sewer. I mean, there was that.
Yeah, it's a terrible planner.
Well, but what could he do? He see, that's the thing, is it made him so sympathetic that we were like on his side, like, oh, Brendan Fraser, and he was so appealing that maybe he was miscast. As good as he was
over the movie. Now, is it possible that he couldn't get the meds, went home to find a dead wife as a result of the meds?
That could be it. Yes, that makes that would be, yeah.
And then torture.
It does sound good.
Okay.
Yeah, that timeline makes sense.
Okay.
But I do know he finds her dead. He comes back and finds her dead.
Okay. Now, when he's leaving there, he leaves in civvies, and he's got the brown jacket, and there's a moment on the set footage where he kind of pauses mid-intersection, and you see him look back over his shoulder. You get the feeling from that beat that there's maybe a glance over his shoulder at this pharmacy, like he just did something he can't undo in the film's logic.
Yeah.
That's usually kind of the over-the-shoulder shot, where you pause after leaving.
I don't remember.
It very much looked like the John Wick. Oh yeah, I'm thinking I'm back.
Yeah.
Well,
or even a regret moment where he looks back and goes, I really want to do that. Well, I've done it though.
No, there's no regret because he feels like this has been done to him. He didn't have any other. He got in with these people. I don't know.
So that was a stone face moment for him when he goes back over his shoulder. That was for him just nothing left to lose and fuck everybody in between. Falling down.
He was just. No, because it's all about him and his wife. And once she's dead, or once he can't help her and he can't get a regular job, he's stuck. And there's also, he wants to go public. I think that's why he can't go public is like, well, you can't, because then they've got this evidence that will be pinned on you. He's like, yeah, but you all hired me to do this. Like, who's going to believe you? He's like, I'm Brendan Fraser, but whatever. So
but that didn't help. And then
no. And so that's why he's kind of stuck. He can't support his wife. He can't get the medication. He can't get job murdering people, or is like, you think he'd be a welder, but I don't believe there weren't any, I don't know.
Maybe a class A welder. I mean, the outfit he was wearing, well, I'll say that.
Well, if he thinks taking his his dying wife into the sewer is a good idea, he might not be very bright.
He didn't seem like he seemed a little simple, but not Forrest Gump quite, but kind of like maybe a Quaid brother. No, but I mean that in a nice way, though. I mean, they're very successful.
One of the lesser Quaids, that's all.
Like Hezekiah, they keep him up in an attic with one of the Bridges brothers.
Yeah. I think that joke works on any family. He's like just regular Baldwin dumb. I think that was one of the parts that was one of the things that was the major rumor coming up to it was that his performance was standout, and that was one of the things that when it went away, everyone was most lamenting.
And then he wins an Oscar less than a year later, and no matter what the film or whatever, it would have gotten seen and done business in some capacity.
They would have,
but
I think they just didn't want to bite it off.
That version of DC was a sinking ship.
It was.
Though. And if it had come out, he may not have even gotten the Oscar-winning roles.
Actually, but he'd already made it.
Yeah, he'd already done the Whale's performance at that point. It was in the
because the Whale came out later on that year, it was early 2023 that he won the Oscar, so it had already been made.
He was I think he was in good shape there. Like the thing that's so frustrating about that was, as an audience, we weren't asking for anything more. We would have survived that tragedy like we'd survived everything else. Like the whole last 10 years are an absolute dumpster fire of fan reactions fueled by dumber executive decisions. And then that cycle spins around and eats itself. It's stupid. But like we would have all together survived the release of this and the cul-de-sac and it would have been all right. Like we would have made do. We would have, the people that were confused would have eventually digested. No, you're not getting any more. The people that were going to splinter off and be weird and go fight bots on the internet now about release Snyder Cut Part 2. Everybody going to do that anyway. We'd have been fine. But I think just at the top, they didn't want to answer all the emails. And there was a good enough case for them to be like, yeah, it's not really worth it. So it just never made it.
Exactly. And it was either because more money would have to be invested. And
I genuinely think I saw like less than 10 or 12 million's worth of difference between them finishing this movie or not. They thought, I think it was supposed to be, I might have the figure low, but it was supposed to be a pretty low figure. It was not an unachievable figure.
That's what I wonder, because when they said it was a $70 million budget, I'm like, well, is 35 for effects haven't been done yet? And the 35 is what we saw? Because I wouldn't say that, but I could see it being 50 million on the raw and then 20 million on the effects, because there was a lot of, again, whole black areas of the frame. And maybe that made an impression on how I felt about it because it felt like such a small
Maybe, yeah.
place. But I'm sure there were not matte paintings, but the digital work, and none of that was in there, and they didn't even have representations of it. So
I'm seeing reports from people who were involved with the movie saying that it was completely finished, VFX and everything.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. Well, then,
yeah.
There's another bit of. All right, now that was part of the lore. I don't know how true this was. It came from good sources at the time, but I think the story was that even the directors basically went to the file folder where they were normally going to edit that footage, and it was being deleted in front of their eyes.
Can you imagine?
Like they had their private copies that were downloaded to their laptops, but that was fucking it. And then in the preceding months, there were a couple of what do they call them? Goodbye airings or something. They aired a couple of screenings around the studio for a select few, but it was like a grievance airing. It was awake,
wait, but so
effectively.
They showed the film internally after they decided not to finish it?
Yeah. There were a couple of showings for just some special invites. That was a goodbye. And
because what I saw wasn't finished. Granted, the effects, maybe all they had to do was paint out some stuff and also put in the digital stuff and paint. So it's possible maybe what they showed us wasn't the most up-to-date version. Maybe it was totally, what we saw was not done though.
No. Well,
especially
if
you said, like you said, it was a first screening.
That's what they said. But sometimes everything could be done, it seems. But yeah.
I mean, for what you're looking at, that was June 29th or 28th we saw. Like for your screening, what we're talking about, man, they might have worked on that June 27th. Like they're still mid work. They can shoot this over. They might be tinkering right before they send it over your way for that kind of airing.
I mean, they could have had it a month of, maybe they're cut off for planning the theater and all this stuff is a month earlier, and it's all watermarked and everything. Well, actually, no, it wasn't. When we watched it, there were no watermarks on the screen or anything. But I'm sure they're not getting the most up-to-date version. I'm sure, but the story was there enough for us to see it, I think.
Well, true.
So,
but they would have had 3-4 months with that. All right, so even after June, when they did this, the axe didn't come down, and it came down unexpectedly. There was I think there were rumors, there was a little bit going on. We'd even kind of heard that maybe something was in trouble, but it did come roughly out of nowhere in the news cycles. And as far as we could tell afterward, it was pretty. What, do you got a date or anything?
Well, I
thought it was August.
Adil Arby says we needed some additional photography. There were a lot of scenes missing, and the VFX was not there.
On one of those
I
late
don't know
screens?
if Warner Brothers are really going to go for that, but we'll see. Sometimes we think it's fucked, but sometimes it's like maybe. I don't know what that. I don't know. That was December 5th, 2022.
Okay. So then between when you saw it in June.
So that was right after.
You would have seen it in June with that. So in September, not in a completely different shape.
August, but it was a month and a half later, it seems.
Well, yeah, the August was scrapped, but that interview was from December
of the same year
of 22. Yeah. When Adil said it was not finished. I
don't know. I mean, as far as what I saw wasn't finished. The story was all there, though. Okay. But the effects, the ropes weren't painted out, the supports and whatnot, all of those were all visible. And again, big black areas of shots and parts of the frame where I believe they were going to put buildings and things.
Right. So they'd probably done some work in the 6 or so weeks they had between then and axing.
Yeah, who knows? Because, the way they work with these things on these servers and whatnot, different teams working on shots and they just plug them in as they're finished, So at least that's my understanding. And the DCP they had to show was one thing. It could have been a month or two of additional work that we didn't see. I just know I can just tell you what I saw and heard.
Yeah. I'm wondering if they probably got something done between like when what you saw in those like final goodbye show
or whatever when they made that announcement, did the creative team know? Did they stop the work on a Friday and then on Monday the visual effects people were like, nope, another project? Do you know what I mean? I don't know. And then when did we find out? So I don't know all that timeline, but I know it was pretty tight.
That's the tightness of it is usually if it's shut down before, you'd start hearing people worry about paychecks, you start hearing rumors, that kind of thing. But there weren't, as far as we heard, it wasn't like that. You didn't hear these rumors before from, a couple of websites over just glancing at, hey, the Batgirl production's in trouble. There might be a pause. That's usually what you end up hearing. But in reality, it's a bunch of people saying, don't come to work this week, or, hey, focus on this other project unexpectedly.
Yeah.
And then that gets
because
around.
these post houses, because the movie had been shot, and that's one of the odd things is there was that announcement of the test screening and then the cancellation. And then I saw an interview later on where I think it was Howard Stern asking Brendan about it. He's like, "Oh, you were canceled. You were going to be there." It's like, but we already shot it. It was done. We shot it. And there's all this confusion. Like, wait, was it done? Was it not done? They'd done the principal photography already. Absolutely.
Principal.
I mean,
now that was up for grabs. There was a period, I think, where they were considering reshoots, and there was even a period where we knew that Zaslav was going to change things back to theatrical. I think he even name checked Batgirl at some point, saying like, none of this is just going to go straight to streaming. That was a major news break that happened around that time. Again, one of the reasons that Batgirl got lost in the mix was we're going back to theaters. That was a fun experiment. It got us all through quarantine, but whatever. And Batgirl was in question. And there was a question about, well, are we going to have to do some research or reshoots and get some wider shots, do this a little bit differently? And that was, no, they decided not to.
Some action scenes, make it bigger.
That was one of the phrases almost verbatim. That was a phrase that got sent around, was make it bigger, make it look like it's not made for TV, make it. And I think they decided not to.
Okay, made for TV, but Game of Thrones was made for TV.
Well, yeah, but premiere TV.
So,
and
you're right.
So
okay.
now when they say TV in particular, not one, but I think two different people like yourself that have talked about it, that saw a screening or something like that, or were in, have name checked the CW in particular, the Arrow, Flash, that kind of verse, as and said specifically, this would be an excellent run on that show, but it would belong there.
Maybe.
I mean, these reports that this is $70 million, I'm like, to whose pocket? Because what I'm seeing out of this movie, it looks like the budget would be about $4 million.
No, I don't know about that, but because you think about all the team and the overhead.
I mean,
effects alone, and then a lot of the action and the pre-rehearsal and all that kind of stuff with all that. Like we saw a lot of the motorcycle work and stuff like that would have been huge, and a ton of that. But
you say that, but then I know that especially for the first 2 seasons of Daredevil on Netflix, it was the budget was about $4 million an episode, and I think that looks better than anything I've seen out of Batgirl. Even the set pictures, even the set leaks looked better than that.
Well, but when you think about that, they already have the sets built, so the $4 million perhaps are amortized. Do you know what I mean? Put it all together, split up. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, there's that stuff to consider. It's just like, man, some of this just doesn't look good.
Well, it was drastically different
than
Blue Beetle, which I saw a few months later. Even though very little of that was done, but it was a bigger.
It was shot. It was meant to be a big tentpole summer thing.
Yes, and it was not just a scope film and that widescreen ratio, but it just was a lot of cuts, a lot of care, a lot of locations. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another one that they didn't tell us what the movie was. Only 2 test screenings I've been to. Actually, that's not true. Yeah, no, it is. The only 2 I've been to that they didn't tell us the movie was Batgirl and like 6 months later, Blue Beetle.
That's so like
they were pulling out all the stops on moratoriums at the time. They wanted the press completely under their control, but it was because it was it was flailing, and that's what you do when things are dying, is you try to control it harder, and that was what they were doing.
Warner Brothers, before James Gunn took over, Warner Brothers, with all of their DC projects especially, were just hush about every fucking thing. They don't want to tell anybody anything. Like, we're not going to say if this was a screening. They don't want
to admit there were screenings if they could get away with it.
Yeah, they don't want anybody to talk to anybody who may have seen it. If they could have put it out and not had any reviews, I think
they would genuinely have sent. And I'm not even talking 24 hours before. If they had their way on some of these movies, they would have sent the press the movie 4 hours before it aired. Like 9 a.m. the morning of the Thursday it's supposed to be in the theaters. They would have sent the movie that right then. They were getting desperate on those last days to control the narrative. It was way out of their hands. And it was, again, it was partly the fans' fault. We splintered, and we did the thing where we blamed each other and picked sides and did all this crap. Like, we made it a very untenable environment to try to court DC fans that wanted to actually get to a theater. It was not good.
Sorry, that's playing. It wasn't meant to play. Sorry.
I didn't hear
you didn't? Oh, good.
Good,
you didn't. Okay, sorry.
No. Jason, do we have anything else? Do you want to talk about more of the plot and jog his memory, or are we?
We can always do a
what are we
pickup
doing?
later if you want. There's a lot of stuff, and I apologize. Hopefully, this makes a transcript for you that makes things easier to edit, Or if you
There's
just
ways
want
to
to
do
use
that.
it all, hell.
Well, we do that. We
legit.
do that a good bit. Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you being on and tell us about
Absolutely, and I'm
Batgirl.
glad to talk, and we got to talk about a lot of other things as well. But let me know what you think of that when PG was pretty good video. There's a censored one
Mhm.
that you have to sign, an uncensored one, and then the censored one you can view where I've pixelated stuff, but I also put the names of the movies all the clips are from. So boobies, boobies, boobies. You see what it came from. It's not
All right.
perverted. It's scientific because it's 1968 to 84. It has male, female nudity, and it's also divided into disrobing, getting clothed, showers, swimming, still nudity, and then running nudity. So it
That's
was
funny.
all because all of that made a difference in the rating at the time. There were
Right.
An
some
empirical
films
study of
full
it.
Yeah.
full frontal nudity, as long as you're not moving and no one's touching you, it's seen as art. But you move, it's like, okay, you can only have 3 seconds of that because the boobie jiggles.
Oh yeah, it becomes
To
pornographic.
get a PG,
then.
it's
Yeah.
crazy. So anyway, when PG was
Mhm.
pretty good, and I post stuff on my channel.
It's too
Chuck from
carnal when the
Kentucky.
circles move. Like
Well, but yeah, Chuck from Kentucky, that basically YouTube or socials, that's where I post movie stuff, funny stuff, whatever. But no, I'm glad to speak to you guys, and I'm hopefully that, there's something I could add to the Batgirl discussion that people find interesting.
oh yeah, yeah. I think there's already in there.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Pieces.
Absolutely.
Well, David, Jason, I am gonna get something to eat, and I don't know, do I just leave? And you got it saved?
Yeah. All right. That's what we got. I hope you enjoyed it. As a reminder, the whole 4 hours in video is coming to our Patreon, patreon.com/DCOnScreen. And if you want to catch up with what I've been doing for several weeks outside of DC on Screen, I write a newsletter called Maladjusted Multiverse. It's all about my writing projects, my art, photography, podcasts, as well as a few other things from time to time. The link is in the show notes, but I'll tell you anyway. It's davidcrobertson.substack.com. We'll be back soon on DC on Screen. I'm already prepping the news episode because we have some stuff to talk about, y'all. But until then, keep some DC on your screen.